Welcome back, Holistic Soul Sisters, to another episode. Today, we have a beautiful primary practitioner with us that you get to meet, get to know. She is the lovely Akashic nomad, but she nomaded her way right into our podcast space. So
I like that.
Right? This is Jeni, everyone. She's a fellow Holistic Soul Sister, and we're going to dive in today, talking all about the Akashic Records, about her unique gift, and she's going to teach us some things when we get to the education piece. And I'm not even sure what it is either, so we're all going to learn together. She's diving into those intuitions. So welcome, Jeni. Thank you for being here.
I'm excited to be here. And I got a visual of like I nomaded in, like as if I just appeared.
You did.
Out of thin air, like I teleported here.
Literally. And that's kind of how you came back into my life. Like literally, I felt like you were here and then years went by and you were back.
Yes,
so,
that is so true.
And the journey to get back to here is probably magical. We'll get into that today. So let's start out with my favorite things, talking about astrology. Can't shut up about it. So can you tell our Holistic Soul Sisters your big three?
Okay, so I always knew the sun, which is a Cancer sun. And I just learned the other two today. Okay, so I am a Virgo moon and a Libra rising.
Yes, exactly. Nailed it. We had only one practice run.
She's like, what are you? And I'm like, oh my God, we just sat through the reading. Wait, hold on, think. And you know what I was doing? I was visually seeing the like chart and I was trying to remember where you were pointing.
Yes. And what's amazing about our astrology is we are like the best compatibility in astrology because I am a Virgo sun Cancer moon and she is a Cancer sun Virgo moon. So she meets my emotional needs, I meet her emotional needs. That's why we can sit here and flow and have so much fun.
And like giggle for hours.
Yeah, literally. So welcome to the party. And then what is your favorite healing modality currently?
So I have to go with the one that I use because it's so much about the practice and embodiment, and that's the Akashic Records.
Okay.
Now I will say that being a nomad, I've actually been back in Florida this is my 5th month in Florida.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy because we don't normally stay this long in places, but we didn't talk about this as part of the astrology reading, but on an astrocartography, my Chiron line actually runs through this area. And so this experience has been extremely healing. And so I say that because I have been expanding like the different modalities. And one of the things that I've really been loving is the sound bowls.
Ooh.
And I'm going to say specifically because my friend Rick plays sound bowls and they're alchemy sound bowls.
Ooh.
So they are a little different than the crystal sound bowls. And I really have been loving that experience.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I could lay in sound bowls all day. But some of his have some very unique characteristics versus like the high ringing of the crystal bowls.
Okay. Yep.
Like he takes you on a journey and sometimes like there's like this boom
you
that
feel
happens.
it like internally.
Yeah, and then you'll talk about it after and he's like, well, you know, the ET bowl, I was playing that a lot. I was like guided to play the ET bowl a lot. And I'm like, I have this ET experience. You know, like it's interesting how that all.
Oh, I think sound healing is underrated and more people are kind of like catching wind of it, just like Akashic record reading, how like healing it can be. So I love that those are your modalities.
Well, when you said sound healing, this is why I brought my drum. I didn't just bring my drum to show you. I brought it because it's becoming my new favorite healing modality to play like a drum. Like
in your day-to-day life.
Yeah, like to help break up the energies in your body and move them and to really get grounded and to help reset. Like just so you guys know, I made like a ethically sourced drum from animal hide. And I created it was a whole sacred ceremony. And so I'm so connected. Cool. I have a horse hide for mine and that was intuitively picked too. And it's just like playing that drum. Also, my husband did it at the same time. So we also have an elk.
Oh my
God. So I can choose which one to connect with.
Oh.
So that is becoming more and more one of my like go-to.
Yeah. And it's underrated. Like you can literally add that into your daily life, whether it's music or you know, a YouTube video or drums or crystal bowls or chimes or like whatever. Like we need to tune out the noise of the world and like the chatter and like listen to actually good sounds.
Listen to ourselves.
I know, right? Oh gosh. I listen to myself way too much. I have a Mercury and Virgo.
Like your soul.
Yeah, I got it.
Like, you know.
That's why I have you. You tell me what my soul needs me to know. We'll get into that in just a moment.
That's fun.
And then, what is your go-to spiritual practice?
Yeah, this, once again, the Akashic Records, because when it comes to whenever I'm facing challenges, whenever I'm trying to understand things.
Yeah.
When I spend time in the records, oh, you know what? You're reminding me of all these amazing things. I love, one of my favorite things to do is to do a self-led cacao ceremony at home.
Okay, yes.
So I do a cacao ceremony and then I open up the records and then I do a session that way. That's like top of the line favorite, but I'm not doing that every day.
Okay.
Right? That's like I average like once a week ish, every other week. But like those two have been really fun.
Yeah, I love cacao. Really kind of taps you in.
Yeah,
right?
the holy wow cacao is
the best. It's the best.
I love
energetically.
it. Yes.
I've tried like cacao laboratories and other cacao. And then when I met Mateo, I just had to, support his mission. And I swear the holy wow cacao just has this energy that just takes you over.
By the way, I need another brick.
I got a brick. I got you one, girl. So before we dive in a little bit deeper, I think I have to share how I met you. And it's so interesting, kind of our story. Like I said, she was in my life kind of through friends and just connection. And then you were gone. And all of a sudden, the 11/11 event came up last year and we just reconnected. And I feel like it's so beautiful. We used to do Purium together, kind of just knowing other people in the health space, trying to help people get healthy. I think we both really are like that mission of service and helping people improve their life. But we were doing it from such a physical space, right? Like your supplements and your greens and what pain do you have? And like, we were both in that very like earthly world. And then that was what, like 2017, 2018-ish, right? Yeah. And then I kind of, I went through my healing journey. I went way more spiritual. I went into astrology and now I've been like way immersed in the healing center of the energetic and the emotional. And I decided to do this 11/11 event. And that was like a whole experience, right? I didn't know if I should do it. I wanted to do it. I had fear come up. Like it was last minute, like all these things. I'm like, I don't even know people that want to come. And all of a sudden our mutual friend Lacey was like, hey, Jeni, is back in town. She nomaded her way back. Maybe she would want to come. And we got on the phone and it was kind of this like reintroduction, but yet we kind of knew each other, the familiarity of it. And I kind of gave her the rundown and she was like, I'm not sure. I just got back. I got a lot going on. And I was like, it's in your court. Like totally come or don't. Like I'd love to have you. And it was what, maybe 48 hours. And you were like, yes, I'll be there. And I'm so glad because your energy at the event and what people got out of it, I think was heightened due to your unique gift. Like not everyone can read the Akashic Records. A lot of people don't even know what that means. So having you there just really elevated the event. And ever since then, we've been able to connect more and share more. And here we are like working on the spiritual well-being of people while honoring still their physical. So it's been a fun journey.
Yeah, it has.
Now we get to see where it gets to go. And today we get to hang out all day.
So true.
Do the podcast and do like a mutual share where I read her chart and she's going to read my records, which I'll probably make a podcast episode on later. So stay tuned for that one. And yeah, it's been beautiful.
It has been. It has been. And especially because meeting you and I had this like level of resistance, not to you, but just to things.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm resistant. And then I was like, but wait, I got in the records ahead of time and I asked, what can I know about my relationship with Mandy? And they had told me, I don't remember exactly, but it was like, abundance and flow. And I was like, why am I saying no to abundance and flow?
I'm in.
Yes.
And we had so much fun. It was like an amazing day.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, I love it. How did you get into this work? Tell us the story. Give us the lowdown.
So I have had an amazing life. I have spent time in corporate America in sales. I had a very successful career. I've always been like an overachiever and driven. Like I've had these aspects that were always part of my life. And at the same time, I had this inner, I would call it now like a soul calling, but the word I would have used before would have been just like an inner knowing or an inner desire. Okay. Something constantly being like, okay, go do your own thing. And I always wanted it, but I was scared. And I very much have lived a lot of my life from a place of control, wanting to control outcomes, wanting to control the way I show up, wanting to control. And the thing is I know that we can talk about here with the Soul Sisters is that control doesn't mean 100% the 3D control, like manipulative. It is manipulative, but I'm talking about when you're trying to control your environment, your stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'd always been a consumer of spiritual stuff. I'd always been into it. Actually, over probably 15 years ago, I had gone to a spiritual thing at someone's house. Was it 15? Anyways, maybe 10. And I'd gone to a spiritual thing at someone's house, and there was an Akashic Records person there.
Oh.
And she led us through something to get in the records. But I think at the time I was so new that I was like, oh yeah, I'm in this library. I kind of thought it was like borderline cheesy, but I liked it.
Yes.
Right. Any spiritual thing I thought was borderline cheesy, but I liked it.
Isn't it interesting how we all get into it where we're like, I'm curious, but like, I'm also like skeptical, but I'm like loving it. But I'm also thinking this is like fluff.
Like, what is this? This can't be real. So she led that, and I was like, all right, whatever. And then she offered readings, and I was like, whatever, I'll do a reading with her. So I did a reading with her. I think I just kind of was like, okay, I didn't know what to do with it.
Right.
Okay. Fast forward, I had hired lots of different coaches and intuitives. So I was more and more into it, believing it more and more.
Yeah.
Well, I had purchased this book. I actually, where it all opened up for me was like 2021, 2020, in that range.
Okay.
Where I had learned about 5D. And I'd watched some YouTubes that would like take me down these rabbit holes of learning about like the dimensions and the earth and how the earth is transitioning and all this
Isn't it beautiful that COVID gave us the time to go down rabbit holes?
I was like in.
Yes.
So being a nomad, I was at a Barnes & Noble and I saw the book Waking Up in 5D on the bookshelf, outward facing.
Oh.
And I was not expecting to see that like in mainstream.
Yeah.
At all.
Right.
I was like, what in the, I need that book. Bought that book. That author, Maureen St. Germain, so if you want to get it, her name's Maureen St. Germain, she's written multiple books, and one of them is called Opening the Akashic Records.
Ah.
So I bought all of her books except that one.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Because I was like, I don't need that. That's not for me. I'm not going to do that. I don't know how to do that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Somehow it ended up in my possession. I mean, I bought it. I think I bought it out of my desire to want to own the whole collection.
Yeah.
I was really vibing and I liked her stuff.
Doesn't the universe work in magical ways? It's like, buy all these, so you have to buy that one.
Yes. Yes, totally. And what I love about that book is that it had exercises.
Okay.
Right? I thought it was just going to be theory, but it was like, hey, let's explain what it is now. Open the records and ask this question. And I had felt some differences and I was like, oh, what's this about? Really liked it. So I ended up signing for her class, learned how to open them for myself and others.
Love it.
And something again was like, do the certification because I think I needed to have like that experience to have, the 35 readings and to go through that experience to, we just talked about this in my reading, like prove to myself.
Yep. How smart you are. Yeah.
That I could do it. So it really, I feel like it was completely divine appointment that I had to get through kicking and screaming. Mm-hmm. And then it was like, okay, I'm in.
Yeah. Then it just clicked. Like once you started kind of getting into it, or?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no. I questioned a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't sure.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like everybody does this. Like, how am I special? I don't really get it. And I would have these really beautiful moments. So in the 35 readings, this was so genius for me. I had put out there, after I'd done some free ones with like other people in the class, I had put out there like, okay, I'm going to do readings for $44. And I opened up a week at the end of the year. And I literally had like, I don't know, 15 readings that week. And there was like 4 and 5 a day. And I was like, I'm so excited. And as I was going through those, I was so charged by all this. As I was going through those, I would have these experiences and I would come out of the reading and I would question everything. I'm like, there's no way I made all that up. That's bullshit.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Like,
I've been there.
All of it.
So been there.
I remember. And I would go tell my husband, I'd be like, I don't know. Or what I've learned now is that person maybe wasn't as open or as receptive or whatever. And then the next reading would be the most profound, undeniable experience.
Yeah.
I would see freaking angel wings behind somebody and I'd be like, I didn't make, that was real. Yes. That was real. Okay. So I felt like I was building this relationship with the record keepers where they were like, we've got your back and we're going to continue to prove to you over and over again that you're not making this up.
That is so magical.
Yeah.
I totally relate. There was like a moment, probably 2 years after I started doing astrology readings. So this was like maybe a year and a half ago now. I like woke up in bed and Sasha was still watching TV and I just like looked over at him and I was like, do you think I'm bullshitting people? And he's like very engineer, like he is not in the spiritual world. Like he probably thinks all of it is just like made up, right? But he supports me and he knows astrology. And literally he could do a reading for me if he had to. Like he's heard it enough. But I look at him and he looks at me and he goes, what? And I go, do you literally think I'm just bullshitting people? Like, cause I had that imposter syndrome of like, this can't be real. This can't be my real life. And he looks at me and he goes, does it matter? And I go, what do you mean? He goes, does it matter? You're helping people. They're leaving with something, a message, a whatever. Does it matter? And I was like, huh, I guess that's a good point. And I did not expect him to say that. And from that moment forward, I felt like the same thing. Like when I would do readings, things would actually come in more powerful. And I was like, no, I do know this. Like this is a gift. And I just had to go through that like awareness, name it, express it, and just have like some sort of external validation. And then everything got more and more powerful. So I think that's a huge message, especially for any of our holistic soul sisters that are like wanting to get into readings or their spiritual gifts. Like you're gonna have those feelings of imposter syndrome. Yeah. You're gonna feel like it's not for me. I don't know how to do this. And then when you do start doing it, just when you're starting to get good, you're gonna question it all. Yeah. And even after like 20 years, I think people still question it, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think it's healthy to have a questioning of what you're doing, because it's important for us as spiritual practitioners or anyone who's wanting to get into this work. And I would say this applies even if you want to do health coaching or life coaching, right? It doesn't matter, but I'm going to speak to the spiritual side of things, is that especially if you're channeling or you're opening yourself up to be a vessel, it's good to have that healthy, doubt. Yeah. To check back in and realign and be like, okay, is my vessel open? Am I doing everything I can to ground and clear my energy? Am I, staying true to the message and not, my ego's not taking over to then be the one to tell the message from what I think they want to hear? Yeah. I think it's always a good check-in for those things.
That's huge. I think it's like, because we're all going to go through it no matter what. I think CEOs probably still go through it, like who am I to run this major company? Like it's a human piece of it, right? Yeah. And we just have to name it and overcome it. So why though? What's your why? Like obviously you've been through this whole journey. It opened up, it revealed itself to you, but that didn't necessarily mean you had to make it your business. So why this? Where does that mission come in?
My initial why, I think, was because I was mind blown at how fast transformations were happening from one reading, because I have gone through health and wellness certifications, nutrition certifications, coaching certifications, life coaching certifications. We could spend a whole hour telling you all the certifications that I have. And in doing those things, we definitely, and I say we because I did some of it with my husband, we definitely impacted and changed lives. But I feel like that happened over a longer period of time. And while it absolutely is possible to have an impactful, profound transformation from one coaching call, absolutely, I don't think that was the belief that I carried. Okay. And so I was like, gosh, it's going to take 6-12 months to make change in people. And even then I questioned the change. And then to have a reading and have someone go, that lit the fire under my ass, that moved me forward to make this decision. Like one of the women who came, she had her reading and she had kind of been sitting in this middle ground. And after the reading, she literally like skyrocketed her life out of that, leaned into something that she'd been wanting to do for a while, and that was acting. And so she's in her like, I don't know what to call it, like in her 50s, 60s, like in that range. And
her second wind.
Yeah, it was like the 2/3 of her life. I don't know, like that.
She's in her second
like
wind.
The 2/3 area. And like if you took 100 years, it's kind of like, anyways. That's why I got stuck on. So like she did it, and she's going on all these different, like connecting with all these different people, and she's loving it. And she's still doing some of the stuff she did before, but like that was a catalyst. Yeah. As part of that, amongst many other things that happened, that I was like, oh my gosh, the impact. Now it feels a bit like a soul responsibility. It feels like I said yes to this, and moving into the place, pause, because it's like moving into the place of choosing to show up. Of choosing, not because I have to, even though I said responsibility, but like the choice to show up, because the energy that's transmitted beyond the words is so impactful that how could I not? do this work in some kind of way.
Yeah. Because you know the power it has to really impact someone's rest of their time here on earth.
Mm-hmm.
And I can totally attest to that. And she's going to do my reading after this. But the only other time I've ever had a reading, and I believe she was using Akashic Records and there was past life. It was like a whole thing. I made a podcast episode on it. And it was when I was really sick with mold. And I didn't know, same thing. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. Like, I was open to whatever. Just help me get out of this sickness. And literally, I can remember the day. I can remember how I felt the day after. And it was like the trajectory of changing my entire life. Within 3 months, my husband left me. Within 5 months, I met my now partner. Like, I moved out of my house. I lost a lot of friends. I left my job. COVID happened. Like, my whole life blew up. And although that sounds really scary for people, I was in a place where I was like stuck. I felt trapped. I was bored. Like, I wasn't living my life's mission. And boom, I started tapping into astrology. My spiritual gifts opened. Like, and I don't want to say it's because of that reading, but I also know it was because of that reading.
It was a catalyst, because
it was that moment.
Here's what I was going to say. That when you said that, this reminded me of something that I find to be really important. Is that, yes, I'm an Akashic record reader, and I believe that I'm damn good at it. And there are lots of other really good Akashic record readers. And so while the Akashic Records is the same like energy that we're all tapping into, even if you're not a reader, you're tapping into it, is that each reader, based on their own soul growth, their own journey, and then even what they were maybe contracted to do in this life, accesses different things for people.
Yes.
And then you also have like timeline and timing that you were meant to work with her at that moment.
Totally.
Right? And you may never call her again. Now, from a business side, we're like, what? How do I not have? Look, it's part of it. It's part of the deal with this.
Yes.
And then there's some people that you're meant to support over and over and over.
Exactly.
You know?
And her thing when she told me, and I know you probably feel the same way with a lot of your clients, is like, she said the same thing to me. Like, I want to work with you once. I want a one and done. Like, I want to work with you. I want to change your life. I don't want to mentor you for 6 months. Like, I'm here to make an impact and get you moving in the direction that you needed to go. And the thing that I do want to kind of pause and share this, because I think a lot of people hear these stories of like their whole life changing. That's not going to happen every time. Like, I'm going to do a reading with you today, and I'm not afraid that my whole life is going to blow up like it did last time I got a reading, because I'm in a space where I love what I'm doing. I feel happy. I feel aligned, and I'm going in because I just want some more clarity to have more goodness and more juiciness that I already have. Versus my last reading, I think my soul was like, we can't live this life anymore. Like, we're really not happy. We're sick. We're unwell. We're in a marriage that isn't working. Like, it moved the things that needed to be moved. And this time I feel like it's going to bring the things that like I'm already loving and bring more of it. So don't be afraid.
Right.
Well, you're going to get what you need. And we'll kind of get more into like, how do you know? And what does she do? Like, we're going to get into all that. But you kind of touched on this. So I want to circle back really quickly. Is we know your why. You know, you have this soul guidance to do this work. What makes you unique? You kind of mentioned there's many other readers and everyone is very unique in how they do it, but how do you feel personally when you're working with clients that come to you for Akashic reading? Like, why you? What makes your way so unique?
For me in my practice is that I love people who just do readings, and I think it's beautiful. But like, I'm able to offer such a depth and width of services based on my life experiences, based on having, you know, made 6 figures in corporate, having bought a house early, having written a book, having
all your certifications,
certifications,
the health side, the life side,
you know, facing financial things. We're looking at debt square in the eyes and having to deal with anxiety around that. Like, all the different things that I've had to face provides like just this depth
of relatability.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
And I think that is so huge. And it kind of goes back, like, I studied psychology and I thought I wanted to be a psychologist. But at 23 years old, I could not sit in a room across from a grown adult who had lived life. And here I am, I'm like, let me solve your problems. Like, I hadn't lived yet, right? Yeah. And I think some of the best healers have healed themselves, have gone through so many life experiences so they can connect and relate to so many different clients wherever they're at the moment they come for a reading.
Yes.
I think it's so powerful.
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely think that brings that uniqueness, the relatability. It's huge, because oftentimes when we are seeking healing, whether it's physical or spiritual or emotional, we're in the vulnerable place. We're in a place in our life where we're needing some assistance and we're needing guidance. And to be able to go to someone who's like, I get it. I'm here. Like I've been in that depth. It feels comforting because we're going for something, right? Some relief of something typically. So we're going to go into some of the education piece. But before we do that, let's break down a little bit more about the Akashic Records, because I think so many people have either heard the term, built a, preconceived notion around the term, or are, wanting to know deeper about it. So can you do a little education first on the Akashic Records, what they are, make sense of it for us, and then we'll kind of dive a little deeper on what you'd like to share with us today.
Yes. So the Akashic Records is known as the Book of Life. That's typically what you hear it referred to, sometimes within religions. Also, if you've heard the name Edgar Cayce, he was known as the Sleeping Prophet. And so his name sometimes gets thrown around with the Akashic Records.
Okay.
He worked with the Akashic Records and channeled these things from the Akashic Records. And what they are is it's an energetic field of all souls, past, present, and future possibilities. It's everything. Like this conversation is in the Akashic Records now. And I say that because when it comes to future stuff, some of this stuff could have been, right, like predicted. Like you could tie in the astrology stuff. Like there's certain points in our life path with our soul in each embodiment that have like a destiny aspect to them. But there's a lot of room for free will, right? Because I could have said no to this meeting and we wouldn't be here. But now this is written in the Akashic Records. Our feelings, our emotions, our thoughts, like this is here. Now,
mind blown.
For an Akashic Record reading, or why would you want to work with the Akashic Records, is because it's for soul growth. When you sit down in front of a reader, or you access it yourself, or however you interact with it, the intention and focus is for you to learn for your highest and best good. Okay. So I say that because, like I said, this conversation is recorded and everything you've ever done is recorded. I'm not going to be going into your records and talking about all the horrible or all the great or all the inefficiencies of your soul. That's not at all. It's not like I'm seeing all this unfold out before me. Okay. The other thing I want to say is that you always, the record keepers give you what you need, not always what you want. Okay. So it's slightly different than like a psychic reading, because when a psychic is working, and some of this overlaps, by the way, is when a psychic is working with your energy, they're able to see in your energetic field or tune in whatever way they can to kind of like the future potential timelines that are based on the energy now. So a lot of times in a psychic reading, they'll talk about the future, right? Here's, I see this man in your future and I see whatever.
Yep.
And the thing is I think this is just my personal opinion, is that psychics have always like predicted the future. And with timelines changing so fast now, a lot of the psychic predictions are becoming like, they're running out, meaning not that the psychic is bad, but like it's changing so quickly that what they're predicting now is like tomorrow it's something different.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. I totally agree with that. And I think, in that space too, is that as we're kind of moving forward collectively, like things are just speeding up and it's just looking different, and the gifts and the ways in which we're working with this intuitive knowledge, right? This is source. This is always present. And I think there's times in our collective history that we're meant to use different tools at different times. And I think the Akashic Records are really kind of coming into the next level, the next way for us as humans and a soul experience to get our knowledge and to move forward.
So let me add something else. Here. So the Akashic Records, you could look at the Akashic Records like Google. Okay. The Google of your soul.
Okay.
Essentially.
Love it.
Right? The thing is that for me, the way that I have learned and the way I interact is I don't like physically, non-physically, astrally, I don't project into the records. I connect to the energy field, which I met with your guides and the Akashic Record keepers. Why the keepers? Let's say you had access to Google without the Google search bar. Where on earth would you go? How would you even decide where to go? Do we even want to see all of that information? Like, think about for your soul. Like, I want to know everything about your soul. Do you? Like, that's like too much. So the question that you're putting in the Google search bar is similar to the question that you would ask in the Akashic Records. And just like the quality of your question in the search bar determines the quality of the output.
Ooh, okay, yeah.
The same type of thing in Akashic Record work.
Okay, that was going to be my question. Like, you keep referencing like the gatekeepers or like, you know, these beings, right? So I was hoping you'd elaborate a little bit more on that to help people make sense that it's not just like you going in and being like, oh, I know you cheated on your husband, you know, 3 years ago. Like, it's not that.
I don't even want to know that.
Yeah,
to be honest.
Exactly. Like, this isn't,
yes.
It's different because you're not necessarily going in and like sorting through the files.
Let me pick out this book and read it to you.
Yeah, no, there's keepers that are in control of that. It's like a cosmic checking and balancing system, right?
What they know. They know what's highest and best good for your soul. They see it all. They're partnered with your higher self. They're partnered with your soul. Like, I don't know if all I'm saying right there is actually true, but that's what it feels like energetically. Like, they have the ability to see all that. Yeah. So when you're asking a question, I am tuning into the energy of the Akashic field with the record keepers and your guides. And I'm tuning in with my psychic abilities because it all overlaps. So whether it's be the seeing, the clairvoyance, the claircognizance, the knowing, the clairsentience, the feeling. I hear songs, so the clairaudience. What is the last one? The clairalience, the smell. Ooh, I forget what that one is. I haven't got smell yet, but I'm sure it'll come at some point. But I am the channel to receive the message to then share that message with you. Okay, so in the work, I don't have like a dictionary of symbols and meanings. I literally share what I see, feel, hear, taste, smell, whatever comes through. Ooh. It's for you to interpret.
Okay, love that. That makes so much more sense.
Yeah, they're sharing what it is that you need to know based on that question. So sometimes, I'm going to say this because this kind of goes into the question a little bit, is that sometimes people ask, I don't know, what can I know about my past life? Cool. Like, you may not need to know that right now, right? So sometimes the record keepers will come back and be like, doesn't matter, let's move forward. So okay, yes, that information is there. Is that serving you in your highest and best good in this moment? Because perhaps you get asked the same question in the Akashic Records every day and get a slightly different answer. Yep. That would because think about it, as you grow on your spiritual journey and you go through things, the information that would be the best for you to know then would change. So while right now it might not be in your highest and best good to look at your past lives, maybe there's a point at some point in the future for that to come up. Wow. And do that. Yeah. It's when you really think about it, it's so layered and it's so in depth and it's so magical, and it is an amazing tool to have. So before we get into your education, you know, like when I do astrology, people are like, well, how do you use it in your everyday life? And like, does it affect when you travel? And yes, it does. So now I have a question about the Akashic Records and you. If you know that everything you do is being recorded, does that play into like decisions you make and like things that you do? No, I don't care because I'm living my life. Why would I care it's being recorded? Why does it matter? I don't know. Like, you know, it's like the concept of like, people are like, live your life like it's a movie. Like, make the right decisions, like be morally correct. That'd be stressful. Why on earth would I want to do that? That would be extremely stressful to be constantly wondering and wanting to control what gets written in the records. What if I'm just being and I'm present to what's happening? Just letting it unfold. Yeah. And using the Akashic Records, this is really important, is that any of these tools, this is my take, is that you use them as like it starts with the C. What's the word? Consultant, like kind of like a consultant in your life. It's not that the record keepers or the angels or the masters or the guides or Jesus or whatever, God, universe, whatever, they're not necessarily on a pedestal. Now, I know we could go into a line of thinking where God is on a pedestal and he's everywhere. I'm not negating that, but my point is more of that instead of like counting on these things to make your decisions. Like, I have to check with the record keepers. I have to do this. What do they want me to do? not saying you can't ask that question, but just to really pause and say, how can I be in co-creation with these energies?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because the energies aren't driving your life.
Yeah. That's like with astrology.
Yeah.
Just because Mars is here doesn't mean you have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to work with that to be in alignment with what you want to do in this moment?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that makes me feel a lot better because I immediately was like, oh shit, I better be careful what I do and what I say and like blah, blah, blah. And then I start getting in my head about it. And like, I love that you just said like, it doesn't really matter.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
It's all just part of the journey. And there's no right or wrong. It's just, you had to learn that lesson and you had to grow and it'll serve you at some point or another to go through that experience.
Well, I'm going to share another perspective of this because one of the things that used to kind of scare me, meaning Jeni's ego of like getting it right.
Yes, exactly.
Is I started having people ask me like, oh, can you like open the records and like channel things about the collective, society, Atlantis, I don't know. And I was like, oh, the responsibility. Okay. So that kind of freaked me out in a way. And I also had someone ask at one point, and they definitely were more in the skeptic energy, but they were like, okay, well, if the Akashic Records is this, then why can't, you could tell us about this president assassination, or I don't know, like.
Yeah.
So here is my take on this. And who knows, years in the future, if I'm opened up or, brought to different information. But one, is it in the highest and best good? Two, do you have access to it? Because let's say in the reading, you're like, tell me all about my kid. Tell me all about my mom. This is your soul reading. So the only information that is going to come about your mom, your kid, your whatever, is how does it relate to your soul growth? There might be perspective. It might be like, well, mom is this and da 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 da, but it's only related to your soul growth.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've had people ask like, oh, will my daughter get pregnant? I stay like, Jeni cannot answer that question because Jeni wants to help the person. And she's like, that ain't for Jeni to answer.
Yes.
I listen to what is there. And the thing is sometimes we expect that like the answer is yes or no. Sometimes that's not the answer. The answer is maybe a song or a series of words or a metaphor that then comes, that then delivers the answer that you need to hear now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, it's beautifully explained. So now that we kind of have a better understanding, I would love to kind of just give you the platform to share whatever knowledge, education, whatever you think needs to come through, like allow you, and that can be more about like what the Akashic Records do, history of them, a message you have now, like anything. I'm gonna leave the floor open for you for 15 minutes or so.
Okay.
Share with our holistic soul sisters this time.
The first thing I want to talk about is opening the Akashic Records for yourself. Because one of the things, so I mentioned Edgar Cayce before. And Edgar Cayce, during that time, and this was confirmed by a friend of mine who learned the Akashic Records like 15, 20 years ago, is that now the Akashic Records, more than ever, is accessible to all. Anybody and everybody can learn how to access and read their own Akashic Records, as long as, of course, there's a desire and alignment and all of that. Like, if you were to go to some random person on the street who doesn't care about this stuff, not for them. Right. Like, right. You're watching this, you may have that happen to you. So it is a lot easier. People are able to do it faster and quicker because what this woman had told me is that in the past, Edgar Cayce and beyond, and it was like for the sages and gurus. And then those who were like, they kind of were like dubbed special enough to get in the records. And then there was this whole process, like this whole meditation and moving through the muck of the fourth dimension to get to the like, it was like a whole process.
Wow.
I can't relate to that because that's not how I came into it. But she was like, wow, it's just so easy. Like that's what she told me. And so I train others how to open their own Akashic Records. I share that with you for two reasons. One, like what we were talking about before, how can you really embody the work that you're doing and take those bold leaps of faith into the things where you feel called, where you feel this like pull. Sometimes you ignore the pull like I did. Because like right after I finished certification, I had people asking me when I was going to teach and train the Akashic Records. Whoa. And I was like, God, I could be doing this for like 10 years or something before I train it. What are you talking about? And I would send them to Marine. go buy her books. I don't know, go take her class. And some people did. And then they would come back to me and they're like, we don't want to learn from me. We want to learn from you. And I was like, I'm not ready yet.
I'm not ready yet.
And then I had an Akashic reading from another reader. That came through in the reading. And actually, this came through even pre-certification.
Whoa.
There was a girl that would do readings for me when we were practicing, and she'd always be like, when are you doing level 3? And in Marine's world, level 3 was learning how to train others on the Akashic Records. And I was like, I ain't doing that. Because I knew it wasn't for me to do it within that umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what are you talking? Why are you, like, I barely even finished level 2. What are you talking about? So she constantly was asking that. And I talked to her after the fact, and she was like, oh, like, I didn't realize I was saying that. That was just like channel guidance.
Whoa.
So
pushing you.
Yeah.
Pushing you.
And so that seed was planted. And this other reading, they were like, when are you going to do it? And so I was like, you know what? I need to just do this. So I launched, I call them ART, Akashic Records Training and Experience. I launched these trainings about, I don't know, 5 months ago, 4 months ago. And like all these people were like, I'm in. And so I share that because, one, I want you to know that it's possible for you to read the records for yourself. Like, you don't have to be a reader for other people's, and you absolutely can use this tool in your life as one of your favorite tools.
Yeah.
2, you can do it. Like, you can do it. You can do it. And if you can do it by logging on to a podcast and learning it that way. There's tons of free resources that teach you how to open it. Where I come in is for people who are like, I did it, but I don't know.
Yeah, piecing, bridging the gap.
So that's like the first piece that I want to like educate on, is that it's possible. You do it. Think about this in your own life. How can you embrace that in your own life? The second thing that I'd like to use this time for is to share some guidance that came through the Akashic Records for me. And if we have time, I'll open the records and share a message. I had asked recently, what are the characteristics of a leader? And what came through, I feel like, is so profound that everybody needs to hear. 3 characteristics of a leader is 1, authenticity. 2, presence. And 3, embodiment. It's these 3 characteristics that help us to own our truth, to live out our purpose of who we are, to live that nomad life, or whatever's equivalent for you, like to really get the most out of your experience. I believe that those 3 are like the most foundational things.
Yeah. Because you kind of have to lead your own life, or it's going to lead you.
Yeah. To be the leader of your own life, business, etc. And so I'm actually going to be working deeper with those in the records to hear more of like the guidance around those 3 principles, to bring them out into trainings and presentations and things like that. But I just felt so compelled to share those 3 because for me, what I felt like when those words come through was about, it took some of the pressure off of some of the ideas of what I thought a leader was. And the thing is that each one of us is a leader. Like Mandy said, like the lead your own life. What if you have been putting so much pressure on yourself and not giving yourself enough credit? What if you've been doing more than you ever really realized? What if you've been being more than you give yourself credit for? A good friend of mine said, sometimes we spend more time in the actual like personal development of things that we forget to be. How can we really embrace this? How can we step into this? I believe that every person has the ability to strengthen and develop this immense, amazing, beautiful relationship with their intuition and their self-trust. The pathway to that, authenticity, presence, and embodiment.
Yeah.
Period. Period. And this training that I'm still in developing of, when you ask what makes me unique, it's this type of integration with the Akashic Records. Because the way that I'm meant to work with this energy and bring it to the world is in ways that combined like a spiritual mentorship guide type of a thing. And while the readings are deeply impactful, like it's almost like that's one dimensional for me. Like I gotta like bring more aspects into it to hold space for your path into presence, authenticity, and embodiment. So what I like to just present back is to get like here's a to-do item for you. I don't even like to do. To do makes it seem like a tasky thing. I don't know. Here's the intention. What you could take
the
back
invitation.
With you. Thank you. I say invitation a lot, and I totally forgot it.
You're just in it. You're in it.
The invitation is to really look at your life. Look at how you show up in all the different houses of your astrology, all the different aspects of life. Just to take an inventory and see, am I authentic? Am I present? Am I embodied? And just like you could take Mandy's work and watch the way that the planets are moving and whatnot, and how like Saturn and Jupiter and all these different planets are inviting us to pay attention to different houses and different times in our life as we move through things. The same type of thing. Embodiment comes from the work that Mandy is talking about. The work that I'm talking about is helping you to really bring these things into your life and live them and be them. Release the self-judgment, release the things. And how do you do that? You do that through the practicing of presence. Presence is literally like the portal into it all.
And I think we're constantly distracted. So presence is really freaking hard. You can get it.
And know that you don't have to be present like 24/7. I mean, hypothetically, you are present all the time in some way, but just know that like sometimes we put pressure on ourselves to have it all right. And that, let's say you've been watching or listening to this podcast and you find yourself daydreaming or going off somewhere else, or you forgot about it. Oh crap, I wasn't present. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. Focus on the areas that can help bring you the most bang for your buck. If you've had a reading from Mandy, like line it up with where the planets are and where your birth chart, and like line all that up. And then maybe that's where you start. Yeah. Do we have time for a message?
Yeah.
Or do you want to chat?
Yeah, no, that's great. If you feel called to do it.
Let's see if there's something that the record keepers want to share. So what I'm doing is I have a simple prayer. This is a prayer from Laura Coe. It's called The Key. By all means, you can go get her program, sign up. She's got a free program. Like, I've never met her. I just really liked her work, and I really like this prayer. So I'm just going to say this, quietly. You can totally tune in and connect to your own records and see what you get as well. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to also tell you this. I'm going to open my records, and through me opening my records, the message will come. So it'll still apply.
If you need a selenite, there's one there. Thank you. If you just want to hold it, or if it helps you.
Okay, thank you. And so we open ourselves to the light. And with this light, we open ourselves to our soul's purpose. And with this light, we open ourselves to be guided towards our highest good and the highest good of those we love. And so, Jeni, each individual who's here today for Akashic Records information is given the truth to best serve them on their healing journey into the love and acceptance that's most beneficial for them in this moment. And with this light and guidance, we unlock the energy field of Jeni and each individual who's here for Akashic Records information to receive the record of their soul. All right. Mandy, I'm going to let you ask a question. Then that can kind of drive. It could still be, for the best of everybody, but then there's a response aspect to this.
Whew, okay. I have not put any thought into this, so I'm just going to feel kind of what comes through for me. Okay. Not sure if this is even like a question that is helpful, but I'm going to throw it out there anyways. How, maybe for me personally, or I know this expands collectively, to navigate uncertainty. Like when you know that things are probably going to shift or change, The timing is like example. I know I kind of need to get a new car.
They're already talking.
Okay.
Like me to-
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Have at it.
So through trust, through anchoring, each one of you have an ability to anchor in the freedom of self-trust, to anchor in the wholeness and completeness of self-trust, to anchor in the groundingness of self-trust, to be able to open yourself up to what is and not what was or what could be, to allow yourself to be in the place and the space and the plane of self-trust. They're telling me, they're like, okay, some of you are like, but I don't trust myself. I'm nervous. I don't know. Can I believe myself when things are hitting the fan? They're like, with love, yes, you can. You absolutely can trust yourself when things hitting the fan. The thing is that it's the belief that you don't. It's the belief that what if. It's the belief of uncertainty that's woven in that creates the rocking of the ship, the rocking of the boat, they're showing me like the rocking of the mind that has us, they're showing me a teeter-totter now, like teeter-tottering back and forth. And it's interesting because they're showing it with me with energy. So this means everybody here, or a lot of people that are watching this, can kind of follow this energetically. They're showing me like this energy vortex that goes around. So it's like the teeter-totter in the mind, and the energy vortex sucks you into that. And then it's like, it blinds out everything. Like imagine if you were in a tornado, would you be able to see anything else besides what was happening with the tornado around you? You may see like seeing like a tornado with like a house going around and a cow and, you know, all these things where, let's say that the tornado is not tearing you up. You're able to like witness in the middle and you can see, you're able to pick out these things, but they're also swirling around you in such a way that it's not like you're able to pick them down and have them with you. They're just like, whoa, whoa, and everything's moving around. And even so, they don't even stay in the vortex. Like you see it and it's off. It's swallowed up by the rest of the tornado. And so perhaps the question is, a better question would be, what is it that I desire from the state of presence? What is it that I desire from where I am in the seat of my soul? Connecting to that energy from that space, then what presents itself? See, when you're connecting to the energy inside the tornado, what presents itself is slightly different. Because all you can see is the chaos. What if you were able to connect into the seat of your soul, into a different energy, and allow yourself to even be within the tornado, but in this space within the tornado? We're able to block that out and connect to your energy.
Oof, like I'm getting so many downloads right now. Can I reflect back?
Yeah, absolutely.
First of all, the fact that they brought through tornadoes as images is bananas, because ever since I was a child, we had this tornadic experience in Wisconsin where I lived, and my entire life, the only repetitive dream I've ever had is tornadoes.
Interesting.
And every time right before the tornado hits me, I wake up. Every time. There's only been a couple times in my entire life that I've actually dreamt through the tornado hitting. And they always scare me. Like it's repeated dreams, tornadoes. And they always come at times in my life where there is a lot of turmoil, chaos, conflict, whatever. I'll have these tornadic dreams. So the fact that they brought up tornadoes, I'm like, damn, this is the one repetitive dream I've had my entire life. Two, as you're talking about the energy of the chaos surrounding you and swirling you and how things are like flying away, right? It immediately answering my question of like, how do you handle uncertainty and moments that are going to change your life or whatever? I immediately got this vision of the tornado, although it's filled with chaos and uncertainty and whatever, it's moving somewhere. It's taking you somewhere else. It's moving you. So you have to go with the chaos to the destiny. Because if you did it without the tornado, without the chaos, it would take you a whole lot longer to get there because the tornado moves so fast. And sometimes to get to where you got to go, you got to get in the chaos for it to swoop you a little bit quicker.
I love it.
That was it. That was my message. That's all I needed to know.
That is a beautiful interpretation.
That was it.
And it's interesting, and I'm going to reflect back to you, Soul Sisters, is that while I was channeling it, I was kind of confused, to be honest. So it was cool to hear like the interpretation.
Answer done.
And know that too, whatever came up for you from that was the perspective of the interpretation of the message. That it's just like a diamond. There's lots of different facets on a diamond, and the diamond is still the diamond, but you can look through all the different facets and see different things. Yeah.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
I think that's all we needed. I feel like so much more at peace than before I asked that question. Like, I feel like, and it wasn't just about this moment that the question I was asking about and the energy I was feeling in this moment. I really feel like it gave me that life perspective of the dreams. Like, this is the whole soul, right? The piece of it all being interwoven to not just this moment.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank them.
You're welcome. So I'm going to close the record. So we thank the record keepers and guides. The records are now closed. So be it. So be it. So be it.
Thank you.
And so it is.
Yes. Thank you.
Of course.
Oh, that was beautiful. I hope this was as impactful for everyone else and that you got out of it, half as much as what I did, because that was fabulous. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to wrap it up. So much that we discussed today, and I really want everyone that is watching this and that feels called to have more time with you to know exactly how they can find you and how you can help them. So my biggest question from here forward is, what are the typical clients that you work with? What do people come to you? What is that moment that they're guided and they're like, I need this?
Okay. So I'm going to say that the biggest thing I notice is that people come to me when they come with the message. This is what cracks me up about the messages. They always come through and they're like, exactly what people come to me for is when they want to come into a place of self-trust and building and trusting their intuition. That seems to be the area that people come to me for.
Is there any specific thing that you see? People come when they're just going through a breakup, when they're, having a baby, any kind of life changes. Does that kind of spark people to come to you too? Or do you just feel like they're called when their soul is
Yep. So the biggest thing that I see, the biggest trend that I see is that usually entrepreneurs, leaders, conscious leaders, spiritual entrepreneurs who are sick and tired of making decisions from the brain and the energy of the brain, and they really crave to get into more of the energetics of things. And they've heard about it, but they haven't really put it in their life, helping them move from overthinking into trust. That seems to be one of the biggest themes that I see over and over again. Even inadvertently, it's like Akashic Records training class is like a Trojan horse for so many other things. Because we finished class and I'm like, ha ha ha, you didn't know you were going to grow your life. You just came for the records, but you just learned all this stuff about intuition.
Oh, I love that. So what would you say is kind of your most popular service? And I know kind of the readings itself is your magic and your gift, but is there a particular way that looks, or a way you like to do the readings? Kind of what is your most popular thing that you do with clients?
Well, I think that because people are used to readings, they like to come in for a reading, and that is something I absolutely do. And what's becoming popular is training others how to open the Akashic Records, which is really interesting. I feel like that's that thing that just the universe is going to provide me with people to help on that journey. What I really love doing, and I really love, is more of this hybrid approach of working with someone. So I have a program called 7 Weeks of Magic. And so it's a hybrid. So we start with a reading, but then every week we're meeting, and I am getting into your records ahead of time, but I'm not doing a reading for you every week. I'm holding space energetically, listening to the record keepers as you're talking. So it's like a hybrid of coaching, energy coaching, spiritual coaching, Akashic Records guide, mentor. It's kind of just this hybrid. I don't have a title for it.
A beautiful container. It's a container.
Yeah. And it's over the 7 weeks, the magic that unfolds, I'm always mind blown, because there's this level of trust. And it's kind of here's an example. If you've hired coaches and you're the type of person where you're like, okay, I've spent this huge amount of money and I better get my worth out of it. Okay. And you're used to going to these coaching calls and being taking all the notes and trying to squeeze everything out. I don't control this. I tune in and see, but what's probably going to happen is we're going to have a session where I ain't going to say shit. And there's going to be energy healing, and there's going to be some other things. So that's going to be helping you to practice to be in the discomfort of controlling and writing the notes and everything.
That's going to be my first session.
And trusting that everything else unfolds.
Oh, that is so beautiful. So kind of to summarize, share with our Holistic Soul Sisters all the services you offer, the ways in which they can work with you.
Yes. So this is how it is currently, probably soon to be changing, but you can come in for a reading. Virtually. Yes, thank you. Nomad, remember? Virtual.
She's all over the country. If she pops into your city, then you might get lucky.
Well, especially for this crew, like I feel like, for the foreseeable future, even if you don't see readings available on like my website, this is something I want to be able to offer within this community, because I know it's what you're used to. It works really well. So that, and honestly, I don't do like just random signups for any of the coaching or mentoring. Like it's gotta be a soul yes on both sides. Like it's very important for me that, because my energy is so influential just by the nature of me being me, that I very easily could influence you into coming on board through my excitement. And that is not what I want to do, because I want you to have a full body yes. And so I do like an energetic alignment chat so that both of us can feel into each other's energy. And then Akashic Records training, that's always available. Like that, I plan on that being an ongoing thing. You can sign up. You don't need to talk to me. If you have questions, you can, but like that's always available. Right now I'm doing about one a month-ish. So yeah.
And maybe more to come.
Yeah, and maybe more to come. We'll see.
I love it. So if someone's like, they're there, they have the full body yes, they want to either have a reading with you and let you read the records, they're ready to kind of learn how to read their own records. What would you say from this moment? What is their process? How do they get a hold of you? What does that look like?
Yep. So I would say the best place is if you want all the links to all the things, then I have like a link tree type thing.
But it'll be in the show notes.
There's all the links to everything. There's the links to the readings, links to my podcast, links to Instagram, links to art class, links to all the things that you could do. That would be the best way. And if you're like, okay, that was too much to remember, then cool. Hit me up on Instagram at the Akashic Nomad, link in bio. They're there too if you don't want to remember the long one.
Yep. So just message you.
Yeah,
and
totally.
And you'll guide them where to go
I would
next.
say if you do message me on Facebook, then like if you friend me to message me, like tell me how you met me. So that way I don't like just randomly ignore your profile. Like at least drop something in there.
Yeah. And I think, or if you can't get a hold of her, get a hold of me. I'll get a hold of her.
We'll make it work.
We'll find her wherever she's nomading.
You can't pin me down.
So what's something we can look forward to? What's something you're working on? Share with us where you are in your creative process, like something you want to bring out into the world, something we can, watch unfold in your journey. What's next?
I got two things. One is you're going to see more of me in person. In-person workshops, events, seminars, things like that. And what I've wanted to do for so long was retreats. I want to bring Akashic Records work into the retreat space. So what I plan on doing is maybe a combination of being like a collaborative partner with someone else's retreat where I bring that. And also I want to do my own. I've always wanted to do this, go into a really beautiful place. I love hiking in the outdoors. So as much as I'd love to take everybody to a super glam hotel, like I'm not saying we're going to be in, teepees in the woods, but
we might,
like a little bit of a combination. But I want to take people to places that, like everybody knows Sedona, but like, how about we go somewhere that you wouldn't think about that's still just as magical?
Yeah.
So that's coming. And then the other thing, here's where I'm going to leave it, is I downloaded during a cacao ceremony that I'm going to be having some kind of like a mystery type of offering where it's going to be about like a massive amount of transformation within a 6-9 month period. And it's going to be like, you have to feel in the energy to see if you're in. I have no idea what it's going to be called. I don't know. And it's a mystery.
Yay! Let it unfold.
Yes.
Oh, amazing. Well, thank you. Yes. You totally blew my mind in so many different ways. And I knew a lot about the Akashic Records and I know what you do. And like I said, she shared her magic at the 11/11 event and it was so beautiful. And the reflections I got from the participants and like I said, just bringing your energy to that retreat was amazing. So thank you for being here today, for sharing with everyone and blessing us with your energy. Do you have any final words of wisdom for holistic soul sisters.
Can I cuss?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Okay. Well, go fucking live your life.
Yes.
I mean, really, honestly, like, you're here in this body for X amount of time that you're graced with in this lifetime. Like, go do it. I know it's simpler to be like, go do it, but like, what can you do to remove the barriers, to drop the blocks and limitations, to take that small baby step forward? What can you do to do that so that you can fucking love your life? You know, like, I want everybody to love their life. Life is beautiful.
Yes. You just got to lead it.
Venus, baby. I just learned all these things.
I'm so glad. Yes. Oh, so beautiful. Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, my holistic soul sisters, for tuning in, for being a part of the community, for welcoming in the primary practitioners that we, have to support us. So reach out to her if you have any questions. If you do get an Akashic record reading and you feel called to share with me or our community how it went, please do that. So we can inspire more people to take advantage of this amazing healing modality that exists for us here on Earth. So thank you all for being here. I'm going to end this with just love and light and lots of gratitude. And until I catch you next time, make sure you keep healing holistically and growing spiritually. Bye, sis.